Hey everyone. Hey to all my listeners tuning in. Welcome back to Fractured Poet, a podcast for all of you poetically insane individuals who love getting lost in the art of poetry. Podcasting from Ontario, California, I am your host, Katrina Wisniewski, just another person in the world obsessed with words, striving to make sense of it all. So, it has been a little bit since I recorded, it seems that way, probably about a week or two since my last episode was released. Things have just been super insane, a lot of fuckery going on, and I just wasn't in the right headspace to um, have the motivation or want to do any of this. So I have the urge, I have the want to do it, so I'm doing it now. Um, In between all that, I have actually created a YouTube channel. I'll probably mention it again at the end of this episode as a reminder. But to those of you who prefer YouTube over a podcast outlet, um, obviously, if you're listening to this, you listen to podcast outlets such as, Anchor FM or Spotify or Overcast or whatever else you use. I did create a YouTube channel. Whether or not it was pointless, I decided to do it. Eventually, when I do have the space and privacy, I might potentially do video. I'm not sure how effective and productive that's going to be, but I do have a podcast channel out there on YouTube as audio for now. So, same name, Fractured Poet, look me up. Most of my episodes, well, I'm not most, not even half yet, but I have one episode being released every day around 2 o'clock, the same as these episodes are released. So, if you're interested, if you haven't already listened to my podcast, you may not want to go on YouTube, but you can choose or you can relay the message to other people. But there's that. This episode is I don't even really have a title for this as I'm recording. I could just refer to this episode as the Word Doc Files because every poem that I am going to be reciting in this episode has all been written on a Word document. Now, the next episode, it's all screenshots from either Instagram or other places where I've had my poems that I didn't want to rewrite on a Word document or they were pictures saved. So that could be a different title, but nonetheless. So these poems that I will be reciting are either old or new, kind of mixed up. I think the first couple, maybe one or two, possibly three, I'm not really sure, were written in February of 2022. So as I am recording this, they are fairly new. So without further ado, I will, knock off the little long intro thing since we're going on like 4 minutes probably. I will start off with the first poem, and this one is called Uncontrollable Triggers. To wake up feeling normal, to go back to what I used to be. This buzzing inside my head has become too much to bear. The fuzziness, the tingling, followed by a fever like sensation as my eyes burn from the inside. Why is this happening to me? How do I make it stop? I wish I could go back to a time when I was me. To shake this impending doom is impossible. There's always a trigger, big or small. I have officially forgotten how to deal. So this poem was written February 24th of 2022. And this was the one of the main reasons why I did not have any episodes being released after the last one, the one before this one. This poem right here, Uncontrollable Triggers, is basically describing how I felt, how I feel when I have panic attacks and my anxiety spikes. I The only way I can explain it is that my head feels like it's buzzing. Not like the sound, but the feeling. Or I could also explain it as tingling. When I'm feeling anxious about something, it's not necessarily, especially when I wrote this one, when I feel that feeling, I might be halfway there to a panic attack, or it's just the feeling of feeling anxious. And I feel like it's literally all in my head. Everything that I feel is in my head. With everything that's going on, when I first started feeling these things, I thought I was getting sick and it freaked me out. And I won't get too much into that, but when it comes to all this stuff that's been going on, I feel like a walking contradiction. Just put it that way. But when I feel this way, I start to get paranoid because of the way that I'm feeling. I don't like the way that I feel. The way that I am feeling scares me, and it boosts that anxiety and panic attack through the roof. So, whatever I'm thinking about, whether I am aware of it or not, why I'm having this feeling, this sensation, I can't think of it in that moment. It could be buried deep down where I'm not aware of what I'm thinking. But the fact that I'm having these feelings and I'm having a panic attack, the way it makes me feel, it triggers more panic and more anxiety. And it's a vicious circle. So that's basically what this poem is about. Sometimes I have woken up feeling this way and I have no idea why. And I'll feel like this all day and it won't go away. I'll go to sleep thinking that it'll go away. And I wake up the next day and I still kind of have that feeling. And that's what makes me think that I was getting sick. But it was all in my head. I didn't feel anything else. I didn't have a fever, even though I felt like it. My body wasn't aching. I didn't feel sick like that. But it was all in my head. My head felt really hot. My face felt hot. My eyes from the inside felt hot. So that's what this poem is basically describing. I won't go on too much about it, but that's basically what this poem is. And the last line of the poem, I have officially forgotten how to deal. Because everything that I had just said, everything that I had recited in the poem, this is not me. I have never, ever felt or experienced this before. Now, I've gotten to a point where I get so pissed off, or I am in a stressful situation where it makes me so angry that my eyes feel like they're burning from the inside. That's all that I've ever felt. I know when I have gotten to that point, like I know I'm super pissed. And this is totally different. I mean, it's the same feeling in terms of the eyes burning, but not everything else. I sadly have been a pro at dealing with stress. I have been through a lot of bullshit. A lot of bullshit. And I think I had mentioned it before because I think I've actually written a poem about it. But a few years ago, I don't even remember what year anymore, but it was a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, as of now, March 9th of 2022. That's when I'm obviously recording this episode. But my family and I went through a traumatic issue where we were kicked out by our landlords. We were given 30 days. We weren't expecting this. We didn't have money to move out and look for another place. We just didn't have anything. So we were scrambling for about 30 days, and no one realized 30 days, a month may sound like a whole hell of a lot of time in every other case, but in looking for a spot, a place to live when you're being kicked out, it's like 2 days. It doesn't, at least for people that are normal and, money is scarce, 30 days is not enough. So I went through a lot of stuff, packing, taking care of my brother, taking my mom to work and back, and, being home, Susie homemaker and all that other crap. And at the same time, looking for places, setting up appointments, calling, what's available, going to physically see these places, and nothing was panning out. And we were down to the nitty gritty. And, it started to affect me physically. I woke up a lot of days within that month, and my stomach was burning. And I honestly think that I had an ulcer. I would literally wake up. It wasn't stomach hurting. It wasn't, anything like that. Like literally, I would wake up and my stomach was burning on the inside. I would get physically sick. I remember taking my mom to work one day and my face went white. I felt nauseous. I was not there. And from that time on, like I have not handled stress the way that I used to before that point. And with everything going on with the pandemic and all that other bullshit in between, I have not been able to handle stress at all. And maybe it wasn't even just the pandemic. It's not even, and I'm not going to get into that either, but everything in between that, personal life and, whatever, I could not handle it. And everything, big or small, as the poem says, was was a trigger for me. So when I started to get stressed out, I experienced these things. So that was a long explanation. I apologize, but that's pretty much what this poem is about. So I will um, move on to the next one. This one is called Alone in the Dark. After darkness approaches, where do I go? Pinned to a place where I cannot escape. The light that used to guide me has suddenly vanished. Living in a world that does not care, screaming so loud the birds did not scatter. Once more I will stand alone, and yet again I face life and defeat. This was not what I had in mind. Taking me so far away, something I used to wish upon myself, always deep in my thoughts, not aware of what's coming next. I am fading into the darkened seasons. The moon that shines, it fights to be seen. Standing alone in the street, there is nowhere else to go, not knowing where I will end up, unprepared. My tears have failed to stop. Still, I lie awake. Still, I have to find a way out of this darkness, an escape from this agony, waiting for an answer, waiting for a sign. Darkness has set its path. This poem was actually written August 13th of 2007. I can't really explain this poem because I don't remember where my mind was and where my intentions or what my intentions were when I wrote this poem. It was probably a random, as you all have heard me say many times before when I can't explain a poem. But yeah, this kind of almost relates to society today. Um, just being pinned in a place where you have no escape. At least that's the way that I feel about it. I feel like, the walls are closing in and my life is basically going to cease to exist in a lot of ways. But that's just my opinion. But I don't really know what else to say about this poem. It does have a little bit of a relation with how I feel currently. Not all of it, but some of it. And maybe even just life in general, the way that, the world is going and all the fuckery in between. But I won't get too much into the rambling part that has no relevance to this poem. So I'm going to move on to the next one. And this next one is called Goodbye, My Love, My Sweet. Your words were sweet. Your face was unforgettable, remembering each day that we had and cherished it always. Mesmerized by your scent, for it drove me wild. You are someone I will never forget. Your smile always kept me going. You brought that sparkle to my eyes. Holding you close, I realized how lucky I was, although I knew this wouldn't last forever. In time, our differences set us apart. We had nothing more in common. The romance I thought existed had slowly diminished, tolerating what was not intended. To think, I regret not a single moment, bringing out the best in me. I know now what I want. Hearing your voice is something I miss. Hearing your laugh, seeing your smile. I give you my best wishes. Goodbye, my love. I never meant to hurt you. Goodbye, my sweet. It was a pleasure. And for some reason, I did not put a date on this poem, so I have no idea when this was written. And quite honestly, I don't even know where that came from. I know that's not talking about my current relationship because we're still together, and it's definitely not talking about any of my previous ones. So this is probably just off the whim, random topic. I either was watching a movie or listening to a song or something of that nature where all of that was dragged out of me because it does not describe anything of my current situation. I can't even think about being separated or not being with my fiance. I would probably be extremely lost and broken. So it's definitely not talking about my personal life in any relevant current situation. So again, where that came from, I have no freaking idea. So I'm not going to sit here and elaborate because I have no idea what to elaborate on other than it was probably just a random thought. So I am going to go to the next poem, which is called Cloak of Stars. Standing on a ledge, she's looking straight ahead, wondering what lies beyond the horizon. Her mystique is intriguing, a long black dress to set the mood, and a cloak of wisdom. Heavy winds come her way, feeling a sudden chill as her hair blows in every direction. The clouds are closing in all around her, brushing her hair aside. She becomes more aware, spotting little pixie stars as they catch the sun's gaze, glistening in the rays. It is now dark. The sun becomes a royal purple. There's nothing left to see but a cloak of stars. Okay, so this poem was originally composed August 27th of 2002, and it was revamped, rewritten on December 31st of 2021. And this actually describes a postcard I have on the side of my bookshelf that I look at every day when I wake up and go to bed. It's the first thing that I see. The person that drew this fairy is called Amy Brown. And actually, the title of this poem is actually the title and name of the picture I am describing. So you could look up Amy Brown Cloak of Stars, and that's the picture that will come up. So I was staring at this picture, and I was describing everything that I saw. I don't remember what the original poem was like, but I didn't like the way that it sounded. So I redid it and reread it and rewrote it. And that's that. I can't really say anything else. If you decide to look up the picture, you'll pretty much know what I was talking about and go to the poem and literally have it described for you as you're reading the poem out loud. So I'm going to move on to the next poem, and this one is called Diffusion. The sun has come and gone, but my thoughts have still remained. My body is numb, feeling only the breeze upon my face. These thoughts that render have only made matters worse, draining me dry. How can I explain? Promises have been broken, memories still stir within, coming close to what I thought was love, only enough to have it taken away. Leaving it behind, somehow finding me, let these thoughts diminish. My heart aches from the inside out. I feel as though my life has changed. He is the one that fits. He is the one I want. So why is this an obstacle? We've shown our love and shared our thoughts, exchanging what matters most. Why was love made this way? Thinking of the possibilities, comprehending the disadvantages. It feels so right. Diffusing something that shouldn't be. The outcome might not be to my liking. What I feel is real. What I know won't disappear. My life was with you. Don't let it fade. So I wrote this poem on April 23rd of 2008. And I don't believe I was even in a relationship at this time or anything of that nature. So again, I have no idea what this was referring to. It could have been a song, it could have been a movie, it could have just been a passing thought, or just coming up with some hypothetical situation. But that's pretty much where this poem was going. It's not talking about me. It's not referring to me in any way or anyone I know. So, yeah, I can't really say much to that one, but I will move on to the next poem. And this one is called My Sister. She's the one person I will never forget. She is someone I can always trust, loving her with all my heart, defending her when it's needed. She is who I call my sister. We have our differences. We engage in arguments that sometimes reflect the end of our bond, but somehow we still manage to keep love close. We've grown apart some, living our own lives, making our own mistakes, learning our own lessons, though always making time for one another. Speaking the words that mean the most, reaching out with open arms. Our love has grown in many ways. I say this out of only love. I love you now and all the days to come. You are my world. You are my heart. You are my sister. And this poem was actually written on my sister's birthday. I wrote this on August 22nd in 2007. A lot has happened between then and now. And even though there have been a lot of things that have pulled us apart, we see each other differently in our own individual eyes. And sometimes it feels like we're not even sisters. We don't have that bond. It almost feels severed sometimes. We have grown apart in a lot of ways. And I want to get that back. And there are a lot of things that make it difficult for me to make that happen. But nonetheless, she is still my sister, and I still love her, and I cherish her. And that will not change, no matter how we feel about each other, what we say to each other. We are sisters. And I'm not going to say too much, I'm not going to expose too much. And I don't even think she listens to my podcast, so I don't even know if she's going to listen to this. But um there, like I said, there's just been so much in between 2007 and 2022. So much shit, so much fuckery, so much has happened between the two of us within that time. And I'm not saying that my thoughts have changed. This poem is irrelevant. I'm not saying that at all. I feel the same way I did in that poem as I do now. So, this is to my sister. I love you very much. Nothing and no one can ever change that. Not even you. So, I won't say too much more, but I was hemming and hawing whether I wanted to put this poem in my podcast. It will be in my next book, but at least I think it was. I know I put it in there, so I'll have to overlook that again. But I put it in here and I just recited it, so there you go. But I will move on to the next poem, and this one is called Wanderlust. Her thoughts become an instant replay as the days pass her by, acknowledging nothing, consumed by all that surrounds her, allowing these emotions to drown her from the inside out, for it's all she knows. In the dark, she holds on to whatever is nearby, hoping to get a grip. Giving up seems almost enticing. It's like a creeping death as these thoughts have become her life. To resist the urge to think them through is more than a challenge. To close herself off and forget they exist is impossible. It's a calling she cannot shake. She's simply inspired by wanderlust. I wrote this poem on February 28th of 2022. And as much as this poem seems almost soothing, at least to me, or maybe it was just how I was reading it, soothing is anything but what this poem is supposed to be. And if I'm not mistaken, it could almost tie into what triggers my panic attacks. Wanderlust, as in, I mean, the way that I'm defining it, you always have something on your mind. You're constantly thinking, your mind is always going day or night, round the clock. Like today, I I woke up to go to the bathroom and I was trying to go to sleep, and for whatever reason, my thoughts just started racing. I started thinking about all of these bad things or possibilities of something, and I had to distract myself because I had no idea why I was even thinking of these things. So I pick up my cell phone and I start um I go on Pinterest, I think it was. And I just start rummaging through Pinterest, saving things and, putting things in, different, pin categories and all this other stuff to try and distract myself. I felt my eyes kind of get heavy again, so I turned my phone off and I lay back down, or I was laying down, so I turn over and I close my eyes and I'm still doing it. So that's kind of what is being explained in this poem. Not at that very moment because I wrote this back in February and it's currently March, but that's basically one of many times where I've had this happen to me, where I'll be doing absolutely nothing. It'll be late at night. Everyone is sleeping. I'm the only one awake. Whatever I'm doing, I'm listening to music or watching a movie or just sitting there, and my mind will just start going. And that's a lot of times where my panic attacks are triggered. I haven't had one for a little while, so I think I'm okay. But that's what Wanderlust is about. My mind is always going, my thoughts are always circulating. I'm always thinking about something. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad, but sometimes they are. My current situation, personal life, or stuff that's going on at home, or stuff that's, going on outside of my personal life. Just I'm a thinker. I'm an overthinker. I overanalyze things and I get consumed in my own thoughts, and it's almost scary, and it creates problems as I'm experiencing. So that's pretty much what this is. And the last stanza, to close herself off and forget they exist is impossible. It's really hard and challenging for me to stop thinking and just have absolutely blankness, nothing. It's really hard. I mean, no one can actually stop thinking, but to create an off switch that it's like, okay, you're thinking a lot of bad shit, you're starting to feel something, you're probably on the verge of having a panic attack, you're getting stressed out, you're getting scared, whatever the hell I'm thinking at that point, I have to talk myself down. I have to find that switch. Eventually, it took me quite a few hours this morning to do it. Well, this morning as in March 9th, but it took me a long time to get that switch off. It is very challenging for me. Some people can turn their shit off in an instant, and others, like myself, it takes for fucking ever, if it even goes well and I'm actually able to shut it off. My mind is always going, and it's very dangerous. Sometimes it's a good thing, but this new trend I have with panic attacks, it's the most dangerous thing I could possibly do to myself. So that's basically what this poem is referring to. But enough of that. I will move on to the next poem that I have, which is called Love is Blind, Love is Not Mine. Love is something I can no longer bear. Each word that is spoken is a word I strain to understand, stripping me of my dignity and left me here to dry. My eyes have deceived me. Every decision I have made leads me to the end, crying tears of pain. Where does this leave me? I hunt for the right answers, yet there is not one to be found. I close my eyes and try to remember just how good love can be. Turning the pages, I have suddenly lost my way. Take this life, turn it upside down. Leave me behind and show me which way to go. Love has become my disease. I long for a cure. I wrote this poem on February 26th of 2008. And this was long before I have met my fiance. So at this point, I had not really given up on love or finding anybody, but I was on the verge of that. I was tired of the cards that were being dealt in that department. And I basically, whether it was at this point, before this poem, or a little bit after, maybe in between, I threw my hands up. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I am not going to sit here and push myself out there. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to look. I'm not going to, have some, attractive guy be dangled in front of my face or, get all hot and bothered by someone just to be led down the same path that I'm going down, which was absolutely nowhere in terms of relationships. I had been through stuff in my past relationships and I had lost hope. I didn't really care anymore. So I was like, I'm just going to concentrate on myself, do what I need to do, whatever I was doing at that point. Just, concentrate on me, whether it was work or, going out with friends, going to concerts, going to Disneyland, whatever the fucking case was, if not all of those things. I was just, doing me, as people like to say. I wasn't really worried about finding anybody. I wasn't seeking anybody. I wasn't purposely putting myself out there. I was just basically done. When it comes to love, like the poem said in the beginning, love is something I can no longer bear. I just, I didn't really care for what love had to offer me anymore. I was used in some ways. I, was taken advantage of in a lot of other ways. The relationships that I was in, not all of them, some of them were not necessarily good ones. Some were toxic, very toxic. Other ones, they didn't really go anywhere. And anytime after those relationships, it was just, I don't even think it was dating. It was just, meeting new people and, seeing, just exploring, playing the fields. Not, I wasn't, sleeping around and doing all that stupid shit, but, I was talking to a lot of people at the same time to see, who seemed worthy of my time, if you will. But to sit here and actually remember how good it felt to be in a relationship, to be loved. And in that time, I never experienced what I'm currently experiencing in my relationship now. And actually, right now, March 10th is my, 13th anniversary? So, 13 years of being with somebody. I have never done that. That is something I can call an accomplishment. Yes, we have had our ups and downs. Never once have I or he ever had the thought come to mind where we need to end it. We need to take a break. Like, fuck you, like, we're done. We have never had that. I have never had that feeling. I am not sick of my fiance. I don't get tired of being around him. I want to be around him all the fucking time. I don't get tired of him. I don't get sick of him. Like, I love him so much. Obviously, to have it last 13 years. So, to read what I wrote all those years ago before my current relationship, you probably could not tell that me then in 2008 that I would be in the position I am in now in 2022. If someone told me in about a year and a half, 2 years, you're going to find someone that you're going to be with and you're going to get married to. And in that time, marriage was not on my mind. I didn't give two shits about marriage. I did not want to get married. I have seen so many things take place in the people that I know that are married. It all turned to shit. People lack communication. People are very shitty in how they treat their significant other. And if that was anything what I thought marriage was going to be like and being in a relationship was going to be like, I didn't want any part of it. I did not want to sit here and have to, bow down to my husband or bow down to my boyfriend and literally lay out his clothes for him every day and kiss his ass and bend over backwards for him. Yeah, that I mean that's, what relationships are in some way, but not one-sided. I was not going to be controlled. I wanted to have, someone that I thought was unattainable. I wanted someone like my fiance. I did not know guys like that existed. Until now, I found one. We get along on so many different levels. We connect on so many different levels. We understand each other. We finish each other's sentences without even saying them out loud. We know what each other is thinking. We're there for each other. Like, again, if someone told the 2008 me what the 2022 me has, I would have never believed it. But I do. So honestly, this poem is irrelevant to me in my personal life today. But the me in 2008 was giving up on love in so many ways. So that's that. I'll shut up about that one. But my next one is going to be called Misfortunes Define Her. She begins to feel her emotions decaying as her anger and frustration towards life's motives is festering. Chemically imbalanced, rage, revenge, resentment, emotions she cannot identify. Life is a vicious circle, ready to handicap you in every possible outcome, begging for mercy as it watches you squirm. She can see the emptiness in her eyes as she concentrates on her reflection, so cold and dreary, a face that has turned unfamiliar. Her misfortunes have gotten the best of her, feeling defeated, a battle she was never guaranteed to win. Her attempts were all for nothing. This poem was written December 4th of 2014. Again, I don't know where my state of mind was when I wrote this poem. I don't even know what I was writing about. It could be very random or it could be very relevant in that time anyway to my personal life or my life in general. But again, what I should be doing in my poems for cases like this, when I do write poems, I should possibly take notes on the side to remind myself of what my thoughts were. Because I have a lot of these, and it kind of gets annoying when I'm unable to explain it or tell you what my state of mind was when I wrote that particular poem. I can't even really tell you what this is about. Obviously, I could have been angry and frustrated about something in my life. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. So I'm not even going to try to explain anymore because I'll just be babbling. So I'm going to go on to the next poem. This one is called The Snow Queen. Glancing into the winter season, she sits on her ice throne with her ice crystal staff in hand. Winter winds pass through the trees, her icy white hair billowing in the wind, surrounded by a blanket of snow. Having the wings of an angel and a gown fit for a queen, she stares out into the picturesque storm, protecting her kingdom. She's the Snow Queen. Okay, so this poem takes me way back. This was written August 27th of 2002. So I was still in high school. And I believe this is another Amy Brown fairy reference because I believe the poem is referring to a picture that's actually called Snow Queen. So if you look that up and you go back to this poem in the podcast, or if by then my second book has come out, um, either go back to the podcast and listen to this poem while looking at this picture, and it's describing exactly what's in the picture and more. But that's basically what this poem is about. I can't really elaborate anymore because it's about a picture. So I was looking at a picture of this fairy, and that's what came out. So I will end it there and go on to the last poem of this episode. And this one is called Alarming Hysteria. You're okay. What you're feeling is because you're anxious. You don't have a fever. You're not getting sick. This is a sign of anxiety. Stop it. This is all in your head. You are feeling this way because of what you are currently thinking about. Knock it off. You are okay. Words she repeats to herself to keep her from panicking. Words she hopes will calm her. Head feeling fuzzy, almost tingling like. Face feels hot to the touch, only not. Eyes burning from the inside. To roll with the motions, to escape this personal hell she has created for herself. It's a plan not yet strategized. Crying countless tears, rocking back and forth to make it stop. Things that never helped in the first place. The panic has settled in. She feels her chest constricting and pains traveling into her arm. It has begun. To distinguish the difference, she is unable. As she creates more hysteria, what else can she do? This poem was written on February 21st of 2022. And again, another poem that strikes home. This is obviously, if you haven't figured it out, this is also another poem describing and talking about what it's like for me when I'm going through panic attacks. So the first three stanzas are actually things that I've said to myself, like actual dialogue. Maybe not word for word, but when I wrote this, I think I was actually feeling these feelings. Not necessarily going through a panic attack, but feeling these feelings. And I was trying to write them out so I can reread them and force myself to calm down and shut that shit off. So the first three stanzas are things I've actually said to myself to calm myself down. Whether they work or not is beside the point, but at least I'm trying. So this is actually when I am in the middle of a panic attack or beginning stages of one. These are, like I said, all things that I feel. This is what goes through my head. You know, repeating these words to keep me from panicking, hoping that it does calm me down. You know, my head feeling fuzzy and tingling, my face feels hot to the touch like I have a fever, only it's not. My eyes burning from the inside out. I have to roll with the motions as I state in the poem. I have to let this ride out, and I have to also keep myself from getting worse and keep myself from thinking more horrible things that enhance this panic attack that I'm having. I've cried many tears over the course of this time, questioning myself, questioning my sanity. I feel like I'm going insane. Why the fuck am I like this? This is not me. I don't do this. I don't do this shit. I have never had a problem with this before, and why, like, I would have panic attacks like back to back, couple on the same day. I would have one day and go on to the next day and go on to the next day, and it lasts for hours and it doesn't go away. Thinking, okay, it's bedtime, you know, I'm going to go to sleep, maybe, you know, this will go away while I'm sleeping, and I wake up and I feel it again, or it takes me forever to fall asleep, or I'm not able to fall asleep at all because I'm going through a panic attack and I can't calm the fuck down. I have taken meds a couple of times to help me relax, or however you want to call it, and I think those pills have helped me. I've only taken it a handful of times. I don't take it every day. I don't even take it when I have these feelings. I try and cope with it myself and not rely on meds to help me through it. And there was a time where I was concerned that I was going to be that person that would have to be on a regular regimen of meds to keep my shit from going crazy. So to sit here and question myself, question my sanity, when I start to feel this way, I feel stuff in my chest. And then I don't know if it's my mind or, I have tennis elbow in both of my arms, and that was around the same time where I would feel that. If I had my arm bent for a long period of time and then extend my arm, I would feel it in my elbow. I would get a little bit of pains in my arms. I would get sort of numbness in my arm, especially my left arm. And when you have chest pains and you start feeling stuff in your left arm, what does that ring a bell to? And then that's another level of panic for me that adds to the panic attack I'm already having because I feel like I'm having that thing. I don't even like saying it, but it scares me. I have so many different layers and levels of panic and fear and impending doom when I have this shit that I create more by being scared about what I'm feeling. I don't like the way that I'm feeling. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. I feel like something's wrong, like I'm going through something. This is not a panic attack, it's something else. And my mind just goes and goes and goes. So, this is basically describing everything that I feel, things that I say to myself, what I go through during panic attacks. So, this is honestly not a poem to end the episode on, but this is the last poem of the episode. So I'm not really going to say much more about this poem because I think I've said enough between the beginning and ending with one. That's what I go through. That's what these poems are about, and I write about it. So hopefully that's therapy within itself. But that's going to conclude this episode. I will try my hardest to keep coming out with more episodes weekly. I actually have another one set up, so once I get that one rolling, I'm going to have to start coming up with new material and get on the ball. Again, to those of you who are always tuning in, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means a whole hell of a lot. I don't know how many people listen to this podcast. I don't know anyone who actually gives a shit about listening to this, but I do appreciate your ears and sticking out as long as you have and, hanging with me for, almost an hour. But again, to those of you who are always tuning in and even those who have just joined in, I hope you liked what you heard and tune in next time. You can catch this episode and future episodes at anchor.fm/fractured poet. And you can also, if you want to go to YouTube, you can look me up on YouTube, Fractured Poet, and I should have all of my episodes, all the episodes that have been on Anchor FM or wherever you go to listen to your podcast. They're all the same. It's not different. It's just transferred over. This Fractured Poet episode was written and produced by me, Katrina Wisniewski. Music made by Alternative Rock Volume 1 and Rock Electronica Volume 4 from freeplaymusic.com. You can always follow me on Instagram, follow my poet page at Fractured Poet or my personal page at Fractured Goddess. And as always, thanks for listening, and until next time.